everyone. My name is Shannon Fortin. I'm the Associate Director of Admission here at Chapel Hill Chauncey Hall. It's so great to have you all with us today. Our plan for the next hour or so will be to hear a presentation from two of our faculty, followed with a short video, and then Q&A, a time for you to ask questions, things that you're wondering about from this great group of people representing CHCH with us tonight. So please go ahead and throughout the presentation and the video, as we get started here, put any questions that you want to ask into the Q&A as we go through the evening. And then we will take time to answer those in a little bit, in a few minutes. So also a reminder that we are going to record this webinar. So we'll be happy to share it with you afterwards, and it will be posted on our website as well. So I'll now turn things over to Josh Bubar, our Assistant Head of School. Josh.
Hi, everybody. My name is Josh Bubar. I'm the Assistant Head of School here at Chapel Hill Chauncey Hall. It's my 23rd year here. And so I'm going to do a presentation with my colleague, Kelly. Kelly, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself briefly.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kelly Walsh. I'm the head of middle school and excited to share with you some background and information about our middle school after Josh talks about the entire school.
All right, and so I'm going to share my screen with folks so we'll kind of walk through my presentation. And yeah, so I would just like to share a couple of facts with folks. Some of these you may already know, some of these you may not. We are a school of about 200 students in grades 7 through 12. Beginning next year, we'll be opening a 7th grade. About 40% of our students identify as people of color. Our average class size is 10, so as Lance said, every student is really well known by their teachers. Roughly 40% of our students are boarding. We have 11 countries represented here. We offer 17 AP Advanced and Honors classes. We've won 17 league championships over the last 6 years. We're 10 miles from Boston, and as Lance said, 100% of our students go on to college or university. I also want to share a couple of pieces. One is that about 20% of our faculty identify as people of color, and roughly 40% of our students receive financial aid. And I know for many families, the independent school proposition is about affordability, and we try to make that as possible as we can here at Chapel Hill Chauncey Hall. Our overall idea for your children is to help them achieve their best. We know they're not going to be finished products when they graduate from us. I'm 52 years old. I'm not a finished product now myself. But we really want high school not to be something that they endure, but a place where they can really achieve and begin to find their best self. We start by talking about helping them unlock their potential, particularly their academic potential. And for me, that really starts with our faculty. I take the point on hiring faculty and student-facing staff here at Chapel Hill. And I really pride myself on the fact that our faculty are really incredible people. They really connect with kids really, really well. When we go through the hiring process, we often look not necessarily for a PhD so much as we look for someone with real evidence of loving students and loving interacting with them. Because we know that if they really love kids, they'll do everything in their power to make sure that that student can unlock their potential in the classroom. Another way in which we help students unlock their potential is through our academic schedule. As you can see here, we only have 3 or 4 classes a day. Our classes go for about 70 minutes. And what we find that does is it allows us to do 2 things. Number one, it allows us to dive more deeply into subjects. So we worry about depth over breadth in our academic classes. And in that, it allows our teachers the opportunity to open up doors to the content in 2 or 3 or even 4 different ways in any given class period. And that allows a wide range of learners the opportunity to kind of walk through that door and really understand the content area in a way that resonates with them in that moment. Also, a 3 or 4 block day really makes for a much less hectic school day. So we find that our students are a little more relaxed. They don't feel like they're racing through every day. And they feel like they can make those personal connections with teachers and with each other that make the high school experience really, really meaningful. We also incorporate diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives throughout our day. Some of this is in the books we read. Some of this is in the way we center our classes on different experiences from different groups. Some of this is the speakers that we can bring to campus. But overarchingly, it's about making sure that our teachers really craft a curriculum which speaks to all sorts of different experiences in the world, and then allows our students to reflect on that and create kind of some windows into what other people's experiences are, but also some more direct connections as they go through their academic day. We're also a school that really works to balance support and challenge. So I'm guessing many of you are here because we do offer really strong academic support and skill and strategy based classes. In fact, 70% of our ninth grade takes a class called Skills and Academic Strategies, which is just a regular class that takes place during their 6 block week. They meet 3 times a week in a very small group, 4 students and 1 teacher, where they really do a lot of work on executive function skills and some more core academic skills around reading, writing, crafting an essay, how to work through a word problem in math. On the other end of that, as Lance noted, 100% of our students apply to and are accepted and will attend college. But along the way, we have that 70% of our ninth grade who takes SAS, and then over 70% of our senior class takes at least one AP class during their senior year. And what I find that to be a really, really a tremendous example of how much growth our students experience over the course of time here. Students who come to us, for example, with language-based learning differences, they're in SAS, they're not sure how strong their reading skills are, how well they're going to do crafting essays at the high school level. And we've had those students then take AP literature and composition as seniors. And that kind of ability to unlock students' potential, I find to be incredibly rewarding, and one of the reasons I've been here for 23 years. We also offer a number of students every year the opportunity to pursue a Distinguished Scholars Diploma through our Distinguished Scholars Program. We have a recent graduate here, Stephanie. Stephanie really focused in science. And so she's on the pre-med track now in college. And so she took all the science classes she possibly could with us. But in addition to that, she was doing significant external work. She spent 2 summers doing academic work, including 1 summer at Stony Brook in their pre-med program for high school students. She also worked really closely with a faculty advisor to tailor her Distinguished Scholars Program, and then had to present the work that she had done both here at Chapel Hill and outside of Chapel Hill to a panel in order to earn that diploma. We offer that not just in STEM areas, but also in the humanities and in visual art. Another thing we like to have our kids do is think about how do they create their story. So they're going to unlock their potential academically, but there's much more to the high school experience than just the academic side of it. One way that we do that for our students is that we require them to take part in co-curricular activities, that is, activities that start after the end of the academic day. For a number of our students, they take part in interscholastic athletics, and that's a real place for them to experience being on a team. And if you've never played a sport or you only played it a long time ago, we have a level for you. We have a no-cut policy across our athletic teams, and so there's an opportunity for you to play that sport, pick it back up if you want to, or try something totally new. Similarly, we have a lot of students who come in and take part in our theater program. About 70% of our students in any given year will take part in at least 1 show, either on stage or as part of our theater tech crew. And that's a really lovely opportunity for students to work together as a team in this artistic pursuit. And what we find there is many students who, sometimes have struggled to find, like, what's the thing I want to do in high school? What's the thing that's going to kind of give me a group and people to be with? And theater has provided that for many of our students over the course of time. We're also really invested in our students giving back to the community. And so for some of our students, that's really simple. They have community service that they've done with their family or they've done in other places, and they continue to do that. We ask that our students do 10 hours a year over the course of their time here. But for some of our students, it's really about trying to figure out how do they match their passion with service for others. And so this is a great picture. You'll hear from Nikki Turpin. That's Nikki kind of front and center there, holding up the book. And then the redhead with her back to you is a recent graduate with a real passion for photography. Now, Nikki is the executive director of a not-for-profit over in Concord. And she, like many not-for-profits, needs help. And that help can come in lots of forms. And in this case, it came in the form of one of our students being willing to be a photographer for one of their events and put together a whole slew of photos that they could then use to promote Robin's House and the work they do there. And that this student could use their talent for others and feel really great about it on 2 fronts. And again, that's a place where our kids can really create their own story and become kind of somebody that they really want to be during their time here in high school. We also ask our students to take charge of their learning. We really want them to be the ones who drive the bus, so to speak, on their learning as they're becoming older, as they naturally, developmentally really want to have more control over their life. We find this is a great opportunity for them to become the best self-advocates they can be. A lot of that begins in our skills and academic strategies class. Again, about 70% of our ninth graders will take this class. And this is a place where they develop executive function skills, work on more discrete academic skills, but it is also a place where our teachers in that 4-to-1 environment work with our students really closely about how do you advocate for yourself and the things that you want and need in an academic environment. How do you reach out to a teacher and ask for an extension on a piece of work? How do you reach out to a teacher? How do you go to office hours and begin a conversation about a problem set in math that you found really challenging? What are really effective ways to do that and get what you need? And those conversations, I think, are ones that really resonate with our students and that they can hold with them and they go forward through high school and beyond. Another way we ask our students to take charge of their learning is through the college process. This is the kind of visual of all the schools that our graduates of the class of 2023 are matriculating to. And I love this because it shows kind of the breadth of schools that our kids go to. On the one hand, right there in the middle, just above the congratulations, you'll see Bard College. Bard's a lovely small liberal arts college in New York. And then over to the left, you'll see the University of Alabama. And if you know anything about the college landscape, it would be really hard to find two institutions that are fundamentally more different than one another, but both were fundamentally great choices for our students who made those choices. Those were the right places for them to go from Chapel Hill. We had prepared those students to be successful at those schools, and we had prepared them to know that those places, as different as they are exactly the right places for them. A way that we think about this is through a statistic that we track with some regularity, which is we look at how many students have we graduated in a 5-year span, and how many different colleges have they gone to. Right now, ending with the class of 2023, we've graduated about 232 students, and they've attended 126 different institutions. And as you go through this college, through the secondary school search process, I would urge you to ask other schools that you visit or you look at what that number is for them. What's that ratio? And I think it can be really, really telling. They might have twice as many graduates, for example, but fewer schools. And that doesn't mean there's anything really wrong with their college process. But what it does mean is that the diversity of choices may not be there to the same degree it is for us. And later on in the panel, our college counselor, Brooke Fink, will join us. And I would really welcome you to talk to her about that process and how it really allows students to empower themselves. Folks, you give me a second. It's beeping at me as I try to shift slides. There we go. Another way we think about this is we really want our students to kind of find themselves a little bit. Now, again, not going to be finished products when they graduate from here at 17, 18, 19 years old, but we do think this can be a really powerful time of self-discovery. And this is another way in which I think our faculty really help guide students. And I think that's really best expressed by this video. So I want to share this with you right now. So yeah, just take a couple minutes with this.
I know.
Is it okay if we don't keep a light on? Do you need a light?
I don't think so.
I'm gonna play with that formality a little bit.
Yeah, put it back in the Apple TV.
So your affect in the classroom changed.
Ready?
Oh, are you joking?
Hi, Ms. Fink. It's Natanya. I just wanted to say thank you for all of your help my senior year of high school, helping me write my essays and get in my college application, and then actually helping to get me into college.
It's Nora from class of 2016. I just wanted to say thank you so much for everything you did for me when I was at school and continuing afterwards. You were always there for me, and I really appreciate that.
I'd like to say thank you to Mr. Castillo for always seeing the light in me. He always knew I was destined to like just be great.
You taught me so much over my time at Chapel Hill, and you showed me what learning is all about, and you made school fun for me. And not only that, but you made learning a passion of mine.
And I really value all of the care you put into your work because it makes me more inspired to go forward and help others in the way that you helped your students. And I'm really excited to return to Chapel Hill and say hi finally after months and months of promising to do so, and see you and just say thank you in person.
That is incredible.
Well, thank you for doing
Hey.
You know, I really love that video because not only does it celebrate some great teachers we have here, and folks, all the great work that they do with students, but it really speaks to the power of relationships. One of the questions that I often get in these is, you know, who's the right fit student at CHCH? And for me, it is those students like the ones you saw there, but so many others who want to engage with adults, who enjoy that piece, who crave some of those relationships, and can really grow from them. And I just think it's an incredibly powerful piece of everything that we do here. Another piece we talk about with our students is express yourself. And so our students do this in so many different ways. That's one of my favorite thing about our student body is how out there they are and how open they are and the questions they'll ask us. This is a great example. It's a student fashion show that we ran. Students were challenged to design different outfits, including working with chocolate for jewelry and the headdress pieces that you see here. And it was just this really great opportunity for them to show off their creativity for our larger community. We had staff, faculty, adults, other students there. Really wonderful opportunity for them to be known in a whole different way in our community. Similarly, we offer one of our signature programs is Spring Session. And so this takes place in the last week of the school year, essentially the week of Memorial Day. We have a 4-day set of mini courses that take place that are designed by faculty, sometimes in concert with students, and where they go off and do all sorts of things. They might engage in a travel opportunity where they do some significant hiking, as you can see all the way there to the left, or go down to DC as part of our Holocaust Remembrance Tour. Work here on campus in our makerspace from time to time, do more local trips, like the trip you see kind of in the right middle, working with a veterinarian's office. And what we really want our students to do is explore something that they're really interested in, really intensely for 3.5 days, and really get to know faculty as well in a very different way. It's one thing to have, you know, Ms. Cook as your science teacher or Mr. Bubar as your assistant head of school, but it's different when you're hiking through Acadia with that person, when you are trying to craft a synthesizer with that person, when you're learning about kind of all the ins and outs of the Holocaust with that person. And we find this to be, again, a really powerful program and a really lovely way to end the year for students and faculty. In addition, we spend a lot of time working on cultural connections with our students and really finding ways for our students to share with the community different things that are really important to them. This is an alumna, Osmara, who shared with the community a couple of years ago the ways in which her family celebrated the Day of the Dead. And so part of this was her simply sharing out kind of her experience with it, but part of it was establishing here on campus an ofrenda, right, which is kind of the celebratory piece of the Day of the Dead that we have now, you know, Osmara graduated 2 years ago. We continue to host that, to have that ofrenda on campus every year. And it's a really powerful opportunity for our students to remember those loved ones who have gone, but also for them to connect culturally with some of our students for whom this is a really important part of their familial experience. Another way that we really like to bring our students' cultures here is through food. Essentially monthly, Nikki Turpin, who's our director of DEI, has worked with Flick, which is our company that provides our catering and food service on campus, to allow our students to come into the kitchen. They'll take a day, typically off classes, and share with the entire school one of their favorite meals. So here we have 3 of our young men from Spain. They spent the morning in the kitchen putting together croquettes and eggs, and I'm forgetting everything they did. They did like 6 different things. And the great thing about this is our kids get their hands dirty. They love getting in there, making the food. They get a lot from their classmates who typically love the food. There is no leftovers when we have a student in the kitchen day. And we, as a community, get to understand our students just a little bit better in a way that you might not get a chance to understand anybody. But it's almost like we get to go have dinner with them in their home. And that too is a really powerful thing. Overall, we talk about achieve your best. And that's kind of our motto for working with our kids. What I'm really excited about, though, is to introduce to you Kelly Walsh, our head of middle school, because I think one of the most powerful things we've done in the last couple of years is open up a middle school. And this year is our inaugural year with that. And I just think it's going to empower our kids even more as we have a little bit more time. We go from having 4 years with them to having 6 years with them. I really think the sky is the limit for so many of our kids. And so, Kelly, why don't you take over? And I know I'm running the slide, so you're just going to have to give me little cues if I don't follow along quite as well.
Will do. Thank you again. Hello, everyone. I'm Kelly Walsh, head of middle school. This is my 8th year at Chapel Hill Chauncey Hall. So I have been a part of the development of the middle school program from its infancy. I was previously the 9th and 10th grade program director overseeing the socioacademic lives of our 9th and 10th graders, and was so excited to be able to return to the place that I really call home, which is middle school. I'm one of those rare folks who loved their own middle school experience and went on to teach in middle school. And it has been a delight and a joy to work with this year's inaugural group. We have 12 students in our 8th grade this year. And as we've said, we're opening 7th grade in the fall and looking to have 20 students in both 7th grade and then 20 students in 8th grade. We have a wonderful team of teachers, and some of them are dedicated to the middle school, others overlap with the upper school, and I'll explain a little bit more about that. Basically, Josh laid out for you our school, but I think it's important for you to recognize we have made some program and curriculum decisions so that the middle school is not simply a mini upper school. We do have many of the same beliefs and follow much of the same philosophy, but with a few exceptions. So Josh, we can move to the next slide. This is a day in the life of the middle school. It looks a little bit different from the upper school in that we have more breaks built in. We still only have 3 or 4 classes in each given day, and that allows for the slower paced, less frantic schedule, which is really nice, where the kids can dive into things in their classes. Given the developmental stage of our middle school students, we just have 60-minute classes. And we also start each day with a morning meeting where we gather and just reflect and share some thoughts. It's a wonderful time to catch our breath, hear how everyone's doing, and then head off for the day. You'll notice a 60-minute class followed by a break for snack and recess. And you'll notice here as well academic strategies. Unlike the upper school, everyone in middle school needs help with skills and academic strategies. And so it is built into everyone's day, everyone's week. And we don't guarantee the same ratio as in the upper school, because it's not only happening more frequently in some cases, but also is woven into each of the academic classes throughout the day. We have science, and then we're off to our math lunch math. So we have a wonderful dining program here on campus, and breakfast, lunch, and dinner are available to all students. And the middle school has a special lunch in the middle of the lunch block. And this allows us to have a little bit more space and time to ourselves in the dining hall, so we're not overwhelmed. And breaking up a class for 7th and 8th graders isn't the worst thing. It really works nicely in the flow of our day. We do join the upper school for assemblies twice a week. And like the upper school, we have a focus on the arts. All middle school students take art 3 times a week, all year long. And that's an important part of our program. And then another piece is taking responsibility for the community. And so we have an official time in our day where we pack up and clean up and take care of our space. And then we move off to co-curriculars, which I'll talk about a little bit more in just a moment. Josh, we can go to the next slide. So our middle school curriculum is fairly standard. There are 4 core courses that each student would be part of. And the additional courses are nearly all part of everyone's schedule. The world language is the one piece where we do have some flexibility, and both in choice and also in terms of the language. So 7th and 8th grade students can choose to take world language, and they can choose between French or Spanish. As I said, everyone takes academic strategies, everyone takes art, everyone takes health, and everyone takes physical education. And these are some of the topics that we're exploring at each grade level. Again, wonderful team of teachers working to develop this curriculum for us. And the next slide, please, Josh. Thank you. We have a program here where I like to call integration and separation. We have a home base in the Commons, which is at 375 Lexington Street, a wonderful building. And we share some of that space with our upper school students, our assembly hall and the learning commons space. But it's very much a middle school home base, and we're very comfortable there. Then we also explore other areas on campus, particularly the barn, our visual and performing arts center, where we go for art projects, for co-curriculars, sometimes art classes. Harrington Hall is where lunch happens, as well as breakfast and dinner, and is also the location of our school store. And I should be showing you a little bit. That's right. And then we also have the use of our gym in the fields. We have to integrate our middle school into the upper school a little bit more and to provide for more opportunities. Middle school students are invited each season to join our co-curricular program in the upper school. Not every co-curricular option is available to middle schoolers in every season, but there are a variety to choose from. We're going into the winter right now, and our middle schoolers are going to be spread across wrestling, basketball, theater, and podcasting. And they're all very excited about those opportunities. And that's a nice way to expand the social circle, to get to know some students who you'll be spending time with in a few years when you move to upper school, and also to get to know some other faculty and be ready to move on to 9th grade. And the nice piece of this, as Josh was saying, without saying this specifically, is that we don't have a second application process for the 9th grade. We're going to just roll our middle schoolers into 9th grade if they're ready for that, and we'll work with them to develop their schedules and explore the opportunities in the upper school. And we know that for some of you looking at 7th grade right now, you might not remember everything we've said about 9th grade, but don't worry, when you're in 8th grade, we'll make sure there are opportunities for you to visit classes, to get to meet some upper school faculty, maybe to hear the pitch all over again. But you know, we certainly hope that our middle school students continue with us all the way through to graduation. And I think that brings us to the end of my piece.
All right.
Thanks, Josh and Kelly. So before we move on, I just want to put in another reminder to put in any questions that you have into the Q&A. We'll get to those in a little bit, but first we're just going to pause for a quick video.
To our phenomenal, inspiring, dedicated, talented, thoughtful, and kind CHCH adults, what a year it has been.
Through it all, you've led with grace, cultivated opportunities for exploration and growth, encouraged our daughter to try new things and to dig deeper.
You have provided an environment that allows her to become herself more fully.
It's kind of an incredible thing to watch your child create her identity within the safe boundaries of a nurturing and supportive atmosphere.
Created by and surrounded by a group of wonderful adults.
We love to hear snippets from your conversations. The jokes, smiles, and even tears.
We value the relationships she has developed with all of you and are grateful that you are able to help her push through her fears and doubts.
Celebrate her successes and encourage her to try new things.
You are all helping to shape a generation of change makers.
From heartfelt conversations to helping navigate really hard social stuff.
From sharing articles and podcasts to diving down deep historical rabbit holes.
From promoting the responsibility of intelligent women to smash patriarchal expectations, to encouraging deep exploration of unexpected areas of interest.
From hugs to high expectations, you all show up in a big way.
Every child needs at least one charismatic adult in their life, and ours has an entire school full. It doesn't get any better than that. Thank you.
Thanks. So hopefully that video and Josh and Kelly's overview gave you some more information about Chapel Hill. Maybe you learned some things that you didn't already know. I see that we have some questions coming into the Q&A, which is great. So we're going to go ahead and get started with that. So first, I'd love to have everyone else who's joining us tonight on our webinar introduce themselves. So let's go ahead and start with our students. Lois, do you want to start?
Okay. Hi everyone. I'm Lois. I'm a senior here. I'm a boarder from New Jersey, and I've been here all 4 years.
Hi everybody. I'm Nick. I'm a day student from Lincoln, Massachusetts, and I've been here all 4 years of high school.
Casey, do you want to go next?
Hi everyone, my name is Casey American Horse. I'm the 9th grade class dean here at CHCH, and I also teach history.
Nikki?
I'm Nikki Turpin. I'm the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion here at CHCH, and this is my 4th year.
Po-chan, do you want to go next?
Hi, my name is Po-chan Wang. I'm the Director of International Student Life here at CHCH. I teach a English support class as well as music.
Brooke?
Hi, everyone. I'm Brooke Fink. I'm the Director of College Counseling, and this is my 11th year at CHCH.
Amy?
Hi, I'm Amy Maniscalco. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions, and this is my 3rd year.
Thanks, everyone. So we have a bunch of great questions coming in. So I'm just gonna get started, and then we'll try to answer all of your questions that you have, but keep sending them in as we go. So the first question that we have that came in, which I think works perfectly, is what was the transition like for you students as you transitioned into Chapel Hill? And for faculty, how do we support new students at the beginning of the school year and as they get used to a new school community? So I don't know, Nick or Lois, do you want to talk about what it was like when you first started and what the transition was like from your old school to Chapel Hill?
Sure. I guess I can kind of kick it off because I know Lois had more of an interesting transition due to COVID and all that, but we were the COVID freshmen. So we came into Chapel Hill in the height of COVID, kind of when everything was going on, and the school did a really great job of kind of getting everybody back in person. And it was with the masks and everything, but it was nice being able to be back on campus and seeing a bunch of new faces. The transition was kind of difficult, as you can expect, transitioning to high school, but I ended up taking that SAS class that Mr. Buvar mentioned. And that really helped me adjust to kind of the high school life. Another thing that I did to kind of get introduced to kind of the Chapel Hill community was around co-curriculars. So for all of my freshman year, I did theater tech. It's the after school that makes the props, the sets, and the sounds for all of our theater productions, and it runs all 3 trimesters. So I did that for all 3 of my trimesters to kind of get really close with that group of kids. And so I got really close with them. Years after, I've only done theater tech once, and that was in my sophomore year as well. It's not because I don't want to be in that community. I just felt good enough, and I knew everybody else. So I wanted to kind of spread my wings with all the opportunities that Chapel Hill provides.
Okay. Similarly to Nick's experience, again came in during COVID. I think for me, I was thinking less of like transitioning to a high school and more of transitioning to a boarding school. So that was a lot different, kind of just like being 4 hours away from home. But everything was pretty smooth, especially like with classes. Um, Even though we were like in the height of COVID, like making friends, everything like that. Just being in the dorms is really, what's the word? I don't know. It was sort of like relaxing, almost comforting, I'd say. Just to be around people that are in the same boat as you. Um, I found that through classes is kind of how I started talking to a lot of more people and kind of just like expanding my social palette. So my transition, I feel like, was a lot more focused on the social aspect of just, being away from home and everything, but academically it was fine.
Thanks, Lois. Thanks, Nick. Casey, maybe you can answer that from the faculty perspective as the ninth grade dean, sort of how we help students get acclimated in the fall, especially.
Yeah, absolutely. High school can be a very big step for a lot of students. And obviously, going from being in a variety of different schools and coming into a place where everyone is new, that can be very anxiety ridden. It can can make students anxious. It can make them, it's very exciting at the same time. So it's really important that we meet every student where they are in that process. And a part of that is finding opportunities where students can really get to know one another, to get to know the ninth grade as a whole, but then also to find other opportunities, like Nick said, to get to know the community that you're involved in with extracurriculars and with clubs. So a lot of what we focus on in ninth grade is geared towards that, having a lot of opportunities for class meetings where we can meet as a ninth grade team and learn about what our school is like, and also what our expectations are of our students within our school. We do a lot of group bonding. So for example, in the ninth grade, we go to Bodeborg, which is an escape room facility in Malden. And we work together and divide up into teams to do a variety of challenges just to focus on team building as a core. And that team building theme carries into all of our class meetings that we do. In terms of academics, we really want to ensure that we know our students and are able to build those strong personal relationships with them so that they can come in and feel and learn, to grow that sense of trust with us, because it's going to take a little bit of time. And students come from a variety of different experiences, whether they're coming from a middle school or repeating ninth grade. And we want to ensure that this year in ninth grade is a fresh start for everyone and that they can get all of their needs met, and also be challenged in that way too. So we work really hard to get to know our students both academically and who they are as people.
Thanks, Casey. So we have a few questions that have come in about extracurriculars. So I'm hoping maybe Josh, you can start just by explaining what the options are for extracurriculars. Do you have to play an athletic sport? Can you do other options? What is the deal with co-curriculars?
Sure. So we do require all of our students to do a co-curricular activity all 3 trimesters. 2 out of those 3 trimesters, they need to be involved in a team. For us, that is pretty broad. So that encompasses interscholastic athletic teams. That is if you perform in the theater program or if you work in theater tech. It also counts if you are a manager for one of our teams or if you participate in our rock climbing and high rope selective, which takes place in the fall and in the spring. So there's lots of different ways for students to kind of participate in a team activity, to check that box, to be part of our community in that way. Without participating in team sports, I saw that in one of the questions, kind of, do you have to do that? Absolutely not. We have students who will do that co-curricular activity in the theater all 3 trimesters. So certainly students who do that as part of it. There was another kind of a question, am I right, about, what are the sports that are the best entry points for students who are new? And new to a sport, I would say girls volleyball. If Lois, maybe you should like channel Mary Grace and talk about girls volleyball a little bit. But I don't know. Do you want to talk about? I think that is a great example of a place where students can enter into athletics.
Like volleyball specifically?
Yeah, say what Mary Grace would say.
Okay. Pretend I'm Mary Grace, y'all. So she came here. Sorry, I came here not knowing how to play volleyball. Never touched a volleyball, never even thought of the sport. And then I did tryouts and I was put on varsity my sophomore year. I was the leading setter, and I have been up until my senior year, where I won MVP this year. So from nothing to absolutely something, I did a great job. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, so I think girls volleyball is a great example, but we offer, for example, JV soccer at the boys level, and so often we'll have boys who will come in and they played, they played soccer in kindergarten, first and second grade, and haven't touched a soccer ball since. That's a great spot. That's a great entry point for them. JV boys basketball as well. We have a number of students who come to us without a lot of team athletic background, but with experience in martial arts, so karate or taekwondo, and they often will find themselves into our wrestling program, which is co-ed. So both boys and girls participate in that. So that's a couple of examples, I'd say.
Thanks, Josh. Nick, do you want to chime in and say some of the co-curriculars that you've been involved in to give people an idea of what the options are?
Yeah, sure. I've kind of bounced around and tried everything at Chapel Hill, and that's kind of one of the things that I love, just because high school is kind of your last opportunity, excuse me, to kind of try sports. So all of our sports are no cut. I'm not sure if Mr. Wuar mentioned that. But I've done everything from like theater tech, as I mentioned, but the lacrosse coach asked me as I was sitting in the cafeteria one day to play lacrosse in that spring just because he needed more people. So I picked that up and I've absolutely loved it. And we've done really, really well as a team. It's something I've become passionate about, but I've done basketball for a season. I cannot play, not very good, but I tried it. And I've done soccer. I'm doing rock climbing right now. I'm looking to do fitness in the winter, which is another cool opportunity to use our fitness center in the gym and kind of work out and kind of better yourself, which is really great.
Thanks, Nick. Okay, so the next question that we're going to get to, I see a couple of questions about the integration between day students and boarding students. And I was hoping that someone was going to ask something like this because I wanted to get a chance to talk about what it's like to be a boarding student at Chapel Hill versus what it's like to be a day student. And luckily, we have one of each on this call too. I don't know if you guys want to start, or maybe Kelly, maybe you want to start it off with just sort of explaining the options for students as boarding students, weekend activities and all of that, and we can go from there.
Okay, so Lois and Nick will have the best information. I do want to highlight though that our boarding program is for 9th through 12th grade. The middle school program is just a day program, but our activities that are arranged for every weekend are open to all students. There are a few activities that we would probably discourage 8th graders, 7th and 8th graders from trying, but most everything is open. And we certainly encourage day students to come back to campus on the weekends and join the activities. And then during the week, the real benefits of having the boarding program, in addition to everything Lois can share with us being a boarder, are the fact that we have dinner and we also have the campus open. So if you're running late or carpool needs to be flexible, campus is open and there are folks here ready to help out. So I'll let Lois and Nick chime in about what it's like to be a student in the day in the boarding programs.
Yeah, I can kind of jump off and Lois and I can kind of pick up, but I came from a public school. I was not used to kind of this day boarding aspect, but there really is no divide between day and boarding students besides where you're sleeping. I can stay here through dinner, through that study hall if I wanted to. After that, I just have to head home. The real biggest advantage for me being at kind of a day boarding school is, of course, the different perspectives in the classroom, but also then those kind of weekend activities mentioned. So those are things from like Six Flags to paintball, which is very fun. And they're like kind of those fun activities. But then there's also kind of the less exciting ones, or at least typically exciting. And my favorite example is I was on campus playing lacrosse with a few of the other kids who are boarders, and Miss Daniels, our assistant to the head of school, and a fantastic person, was offering open house, or she made dinner for all of the boarding students. And without missing a beat, me and one other day student who was there, she immediately offered us and pulled us into her home and offered us seats at her table, which was a really fantastic thing that I just came back to school to play lacrosse with my friends, but I ended up having dinner with them and a bunch of other boarding students. That was really, really great.
Yeah, I'm kind of just following with Nick. As a boarder, I'd say like I'm not gonna say you wouldn't know the difference, but you don't really feel a difference of who's living on campus versus who isn't. Especially like during the school day. We're all going to classes together. We have all of our meals together, so everything feels pretty uniform. At least throughout like the beginning part of the day. I'd say like the biggest split is at the end of the day when we have study hall, when boarders have study hall, and then day students are back at home. But besides that, like we're all just students. We flow pretty easily. So yeah.
Thanks, Lois. So the next question that I wanted to get to says you're known for prioritizing DEI. Can you speak about some assignments, projects, or opportunities in which that is highlighted? So I'll throw that to Nikki and Pochan maybe to take that question.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of a combo. There's a second one that was asking a little bit of the demographics, so I kind of combined it. So currently we have about 40% of our students who identify as BIPOC, and about 20% of our faculty and staff that identify as POC. So it's a great ratio, but it can be better, and we consistently work on that. And Josh does a really great job of making sure that we can bring in all groups and types of people to diversify our faculty and staff so that we can mirror what our student body looks like. In terms of programming and academics and DI touches everything, as you probably just saw kind of in that first part. It's everywhere. It's the sun of the school, so to speak. This year we started having our quarterly newsletter. It's a DI quarterly newsletter called The Charge, to give people a little bit of information, a kind of a peek into what we're doing here, because we do so much and sometimes we actually forget what we're doing and then we're like, oh yeah, we do that. Let's talk about it. So specifically, we have affinity groups for students as well as parents. So that's to support that identity understanding and just being able to be together. Within our history class, we did a little bit of a spotlight on history specifically, and really looking at the age of exploration, but the age of exploration through the lens of someone who's already on that space, someone who's already living in that space, and how did that explorer affect how that group was able to thrive and survive, or not at all. And so our history department is really doing some really deep, heavy conversations around what history should be taught and who's not being taught, and making sure that they really actually not just spotlight, but just spend a unit on those people so that our students have a real look at the world that they're about to walk into, the world that they're from, and just the global community in general. The books we read, there's a little sneak. We really try to diversify our English literature curriculum, and that expands through not only our summer reading, but what's also in class, what we offer for students to have as a free read. And then our speakers, you probably saw on that slide, we had Clint Smith come in and talk to us about being a writer, and writing, a New York Times bestseller with Ray Shepard, who's a local writer, writing a story about Ona Judge, who many people don't know of, but she self-emancipated herself from the Washingtons. And so the kids were able to hear that story, and some people not knowing and some parents not knowing, and being able to really discover American history through a lens that, most people don't really get to talk about. I think one of the other ways we really do it is through our student life. It's who we bring in. So this past week we had Darius Coombs, who's a Wampanoag representative, and he came in to talk about what it means to be Wampanoag, what his wife and his daughters all experience, and also support and rally and fight for justice. And so bringing him into our space, Kelly, organized it for us, reached out to him, and he was able to come in. It was a great moment to have someone in our space, because COVID did stop that from having people really on campus. So it was a great time to kind of really officially get someone back in to talk to the kids and talk to us. And I'll share it with Pochan. Go for it.
So the piggyback after Nikki, for our international student, and specifically for if the family out there is curious about this, is based on our community supports and all the faculty's hard work about the diversity. So for our international students specifically, their culture are appreciated and weared and made noticed. And then so which result in the transition period for our international students much smoother, much shorter. And the curriculum wise, the teacher wise, they are all really appreciative of different culture. We do really welcome them. And so for our international students, they often feel that curriculum do put them in considerations and made them feel welcomed. And yeah.
Thanks, Pocham. Speaking of curriculum, there's a question asking a little bit more. Can you tell us a little bit more about the high school curriculum, specifically some math questions? So maybe Josh and Brooke, you guys can talk a little bit about specific curriculum and ways that we can support students if they do want to go above or outside the curriculum, how that works as far as while they're at Chapel Hill and afterwards.
Sure. Brooke, I feel like I always like hearing from you. Do you want to start, or would you like me to start?
I'd be happy to start. So I think Josh mentioned this a little bit with our Distinguished Scholars Diploma, that we're really encouraging students as early as in their sophomore year to start thinking about ways to enrich and enhance their curriculum and dive into areas of content that they're curious about. So some of the ways students do that is by engaging in some summer work, but in other ways, students are pursuing independent studies during the school year, as well as taking AP and other online classes through partners like Virtual High School or EduSare, where they're able to kind of engage in this advanced level of study that isn't offered on campus. The way they most often do that with an independent study or with some of these online classes is by connecting with a faculty mentor who can kind of guide them in this process. In an independent study, students are really independent in this work and have to kind of design an overarching question or an area that they want to look into, and then figure out kind of which of our benchmarks or areas and domains that we're asking students to develop skills in, are they going to hit along this pathway? So students have done this in areas of language. So we've had students studying Italian, Korean, German, Japanese, American Sign Language. We've had students go above and beyond and take kind of some really advanced physics classes on campus at Brandeis University. And we've had students take multivariable calculus online through the University of Utah. It's truly all over the place, and guided by faculty who have some expertise in that areas, but are often really excited to learn alongside our students as well.
I'd also add, I'd love to, one of the things that we'll do is our ninth graders will typically take a very similar set of classes. Their science, their history, their English will almost all be the same. But I think, I wonder, Casey, if you could talk a little bit about differentiating in the classroom. Casey is our primary ninth grade history teacher. Maybe talk a little bit, because we do see students in ninth grade who come to us kind of with a wide range of backgrounds and skills and experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. We differentiate not only within our individual class day, when it comes to like having our class periods, but also a lot with the projects that we do. So for example, when I do a research paper in the history classroom, what I'm having one student work on is very different than what I'm having another student work on. We start with laying the foundation to make sure that everyone understands and can successfully complete an analytical essay, for example. But once students are able to really hone in and get those skills down, we focus on where each of those students are at individually and how they can grow in their success, what areas of growth they can make. So for example, for some students, I might have them be accessing our JSTOR school database to be looking for their own research way earlier than some other students might be, who might be working on figuring out their sentence structure or their language of how they're incorporating that into their writing. And I love our small classroom setting because it really allows me the opportunity to do that, which is really wonderful.
And then I'd also add that for some of our students, they move through the freshman year, and we're kind of assessing where they are. We've had students, for example, move out of World Civ 1, which is our kind of World Civilizations 1 class, which is our typical ninth grade history course, and then not take World Civilizations 2, which is our typical sophomore course, and instead, if it was appropriate, either engage in U.S. history or even in a senior elective as their sophomore course, if their skills were in a place where that was an appropriate challenge for them. We really work pretty hard to make sure that students are kind of have the balance of being really challenged appropriately, but also supported throughout their high school experience, not just academically, but as a whole person as well.
Thanks, Josh. And Casey. Brooke, I want to just get back to you quickly for even though we have about 1 minute left, but I did want to just give you a chance to talk a little bit more about the college process and when you start working with the students, specifically, and just a little brief overview of what that's like.
Sure. So at CHCH, we really truly believe that when students come into high school or even in middle school, that they should spend the first kind of half of that time really being focused on being a high school student and being immersed in that experience, paying attention to who they are, what they respond to, what challenges them, what environments are they more likely to ask questions in or share their opinions in, and kind of the people, the culture, the activities that are important to them. That first half of high school really starts to inform the second half of high school, which is when we start officially working with students in that post-secondary planning process. We really kind of we take a little bit of a cheat and start towards the end of 10th grade, where we have all of our students sit for an ACT, SAT comparison test to see and to give the students as much autonomy as possible in figuring out, does standardized testing play a role for me in my post-secondary plans? And we partner that very late in the spring term of sophomore year, and then officially launch the post-secondary planning process in the winter of junior year. In just a couple of weeks, I will be kind of sneaking my way into our junior English classes to start talking with students about the college essay process and engaging in that workshop. And then in January, we have our class of 2025 college night, which I'm sure Nick and Lois remember so fondly from last year. But that officially launches the college process when we start our individual meetings and our family meetings to really start thinking about those criteria that are important to the student and the family and what sort of life and experience and programs they want access to after high school. We continue those individual meetings up through the spring of junior year. And then in the summer between junior and senior year, we offer a boot camp, which I've been told a million times I'm not allowed to force students to do push-ups, but every year somebody does a push-up anyway. The boot camp is really around preparing students' applications for college early before the rush of senior year starts, to try to kind of separate those workloads and create a solid space for students to get that work done. So boot camp happens a week or two before school starts senior year, and then most students complete the college application process, which is a requirement at school. And this year, most of our students were finished even at that first big deadline of November 1st. So that gives them the rest of senior year to really kind of think critically and plan around what they want as those decisions start coming back.
Thanks, Brooke.
Sure.
So I realize I want to be cognizant of the time. It's a couple minutes past when we promised you that we would finish tonight. So I just want to take a second and thank everyone for joining us. Thank all of our faculty and our students. We hope that we get a chance to see you all on campus. Hopefully you can see here, there are a couple of ways to follow up with us, to come to campus, book an in-person video, a in-person interview or a virtual interview. If we didn't have a chance to answer all of your questions tonight, hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to you in the future and answer them in person. If you come to campus, you'll have a student-led tour with Nick or Lois or any one of our other Cavalry students, our student tour guides. And they're really the best ones to give a lot of information about the school, because they live that experience every day. And then you'll meet with someone in the admissions office. We hope you stay in touch with us and reach out further with any questions at all. Anyone on this webinar tonight or anyone in the admissions office would be happy to answer any of your questions about the school, our programs, or the admissions process. So thanks so much again, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Thanks for joining us.